Good evening, everyone. The lights should be coming on. We've had some interesting things happening in here on that, so if you see them come on and off, that's kind of the way it was last time as well. So we're not looking for an ambiance as far as the lights being on or anything like that. So if you guys will join me in doing the Pledge of Allegiance, and Mr. Covert's going to lead us in the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Father, we thank you for this time. We thank you for your wisdom and guidance, Lord, as we make decisions for our city. We ask that you would be with our men and women of armed services, Lord, and with our mayor and our council, Lord, as they make decisions for our city as well. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I will call this March 7th, 2017 Planning Commission meeting to order. And if we could do roll call.
Gary Compton.
Here.
Roy Covert.
Here.
Vivi Haney. Here. Shannon Mueller. Peyton Parker. Kevin Parsley.
Here.
Aaron Pinedo.
Here.
Brian Powell.
Here.
Dale Tyler.
Here. Yes, thank you. So there was a letter to the editor stating that tonight would be a time to hear from people on code issues, but it was to be for City Council. This is for the Planning Commission meeting, but we just wanted to make that announcement that that would be for the City Council meeting, which is next Tuesday at 5:30. So 6 o'clock, sorry. So if you were here for that, I just wanted to make sure I didn't want you to have to sit through the whole meeting in that regard. Okay?
Is he showing us anything tonight to preview it so that we can kind of prepare for that?
Tonight we're showing what we have as far as public hearing, as far as form-based code. Is that?
But not issues that were addressed in that letter to the editor concerning code enforcement. This is not the City Council meeting. This is the Planning Commission meeting. So if you want to address, if you want to address the City Council concerning those issues, it's next week. It's next week at 6 o'clock. That's not on the agenda. Any of the code issues that were raised in that letter to the editor will not be discussed tonight.
I just want to be informed.
Okay.
Okay. We can do approval of the minutes.
Okay, I'd make a motion to approve the minutes, and I did not see, Debbie could check, tabled R-1708, R-1703, and R-1704 I did not show as tabled. Make that correction if it's not there.
Okay. Have a motion by Mrs. Haney.
Second.
Second by Mr. Powell. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Next section, tabled items, R17-08, 1 Springdale Incorporated, north side of Harbor Avenue, west of Burr Oak, from C1 to MF12, presented by Steve Sanders.
Good evening. My name is Steve Sanders, representing 1 Springdale, and we're asking for the 2.31 acres that is currently zoned as C1, shown on the overhead there, to be rezoned to MF12 to allow multifamily planning there in that residential area.
Staff comments?
The adopted comprehensive land use plan indicates medium-density residential use for the area. The rezoning request is in keeping with the following goals and policies of the comprehensive land use plan, is recommended for approval. Protect the positive aspects of neighborhood character throughout the city. Appropriate locations for single-family and multifamily residential development should be provided based on accessibility, site suitability, utility availability, neighborhood compatibility, and environmental factors. Ensure adequate land allocation for residential purposes by providing lots of adequate size.
Is there any questions or comments from the audience? Okay, let's do the commission.
All for the, oh, go ahead.
Yes.
The 2.3 acres at 12, are you looking at about 24 units in there?
Approximately, our preliminary plans right now would be 5 buildings of 5 plexes, which would be 25 units, which is within the MF12, I believe, requirements.
And in order to do that, you have to meet the multifamily design standards, which is the amount of amenities that you add to it to get to that 12 units per acre
And-
density.
And we do understand that. That would certainly be part of our large-scale development plan.
Because they have to start with 8 and work up to get to 12 per unit by providing those additional amenities and additional things to add to it to get to that. Yeah.
And the only other thing is make sure that you take a look at the access and the egress. There's a huge amount of traffic in that area, 8 o'clock and 3 o'clock. There's some nuances traffic.
And we are looking at that with our plan as well.
Okay, good, good, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the commission? This be a call for the vote.
Call for the vote.
Call for the vote by Ms. Haney.
Compton,
Yes?
Covert,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Parsley,
Yes.
Benado,
Yes.
Powell,
No.
Tyler.
Yes. This passes 7-1. Thank you.
Staff will prepare the ordinance that goes to council on the 28th.
All right, thank you.
Next item, B 17-08, Arturo Martinez, 1837 Reed Avenue, variance for reduction of lot width from 70 feet to 22.31, presented by Arturo Martinez.
I don't see him.
All right, I'll go through the other tabled items and we'll come right back to that. But if we're not here for this one, this will have to go through the process again, right? Okay. Cannot be retabled.
Once already.
All right, next item, lot split 17-01. And C, R 16-08 has been tabled per staff on there. Lot split 17-01 and waiver 17-01, Robert and Deanne Corbin, northwest of Nettie Drive and Pump Station Road, presented by ESI.
Yes, hi. My name's Craig Davis. I work for Engineering Services, and I'm here to represent Bob Corbin on the track split and the waiver.
Staff comments?
All comments from the utility companies and other city departments must be addressed prior to approval. Remove the certificate of acceptance. A waiver of the subdivision requirements will need to be granted by city council prior to approve for filing. And you're asking to have the waiver of the subdivision, so those two things go together.
Yes.
Any questions or comments from the audience? Okay, repeat to the commission. Call for the vote.
This is a motion
Motion
subject to
to
staff.
approve subject to staff comments.
Motion by Mr. Powell,
I'll second that.
second by Mrs. Haney.
Covert,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Parsley,
Yes.
Benado,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Compton.
Yes.
Passes 8-0.
And then the waiver will be a recommendation to council on the waiver of subdivision.
Call for the vote. Call for the vote by Mr. Powell.
Haney,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Parsley,
Yes.
Benado,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert.
Yes.
Waiver passes 8-0. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
All right.
Yeah, the staff will prepare the resolution, and it goes to the council on the 28th.
So let me
That's
go
on the
back.
waiver request.
Let me go back to 17-08 Arturo Martinez, 1837 Reed Avenue, variance reduction of lots width 70 feet to 22.31, presented by Arturo Martinez. Good. Next section is public hearing. This is an amendment to the Springdale Code of Ordinances to Chapter 32 Downtown District Form-Based Code, presented by Patsy Christie.
As you've seen in the newspaper, and we've talked about for several months now, we are in the process of developing a form-based code for the downtown district. This code will totally replace the zoning requirements for that area, and there is a copy of it online if anybody wants to see the details of it. The area consists of the area from Huntsville on the north, 265 and the airport property on the east, Quant and Cottle on the south, and Highway 71. That is this district that this form-based code will go into effect on it. Basically what it does is it changes the way that we look at development in this entire area, and it is the way that we take on and move forward the visions of the downtown master plan. There are 5 items that are listed in the downtown master plan as the guiding visions and goals for this entire area, and the improvements and development and revitalization that goes on in this downtown area will need to address one of these 5 items, or more of them, at least one of them. The first one being to capitalize on public investment in existing infrastructure, promote compact mixed-use development at moderate to high densities, ensure transit-supportive and transit-serviceable development, require pedestrian-oriented and transit-oriented design, and ensure a complementary relationship with surrounding neighborhoods. So the whole vision of this is to look at what the streetscape's going to look like. We won't have a table of uses or a list of uses that can go in there. If the proposed use can meet the standards for the building and the structure that they're going into, they can go into that building. And the architectural design standards and the way it's put together are pretty tight. So you got to be able to meet those to be able to have that kind of use, which is different than any other area in the city. This gives us an opportunity in a small area to have an impact on what the development looks like and how it relates to all the other areas. It creates, as part of this form-based code, different zones that allow different kind of development in those. And they include the neighborhood residential type 1, 2, and 3, and a neighborhood center type, which is a mixture of residential and development type 1 and 2, and then campus types, which is institutional, like the Jones Center, the city offices, the hospital, those kind of things. It specifies, like in the neighborhood center type 1, which is the area along Emma Street, that the ground floor cannot have residential development, that it would be for active commercial type activities on the street level, and then the second floor can be residential or offices or something like that. That's a different change as far as that's concerned. I don't know how much detail you want to go into this. I mean, I did it for an hour the other night, and the week before we did it for an hour, and we can do it for an hour again if we need to. I don't know if there's any questions or any concerns anybody has. We might want to start with that.
Yeah, let's open it up, and if there's any questions or comments from the audience, if you would come up to the mic on here.
It is on the city's website. It's the downtown form-based code if anybody wants to go and look at it. If you have comments or questions after today, if you have a chance to look at it, you can always call our office and we'll help answer questions, or you can contact the Downtown Springdale Alliance. They're available to help answer questions. We want people to understand what we're trying to put together. We're proposing that we take this public hearing tonight, and if the Planning Commission is ready, to move it forward to the council on the 28th. Yeah.
When you asked if anybody had any questions, I know part of the as we've all been involved in this process, and thank you and the council and all the residents who've, including the committee who has been working on this, and of course Misty with the DSA has been very involved. And I think it would be just good for those watching, even if we don't have the question in here, to talk about existing buildings, because some may be concerned of a trigger, say, well, I've got a building down here, what's this going to mean to me?
Okay. Everything, becomes non-conforming if it doesn't meet the standards now. And what we have in this, and Clayton, can you go to page 1-13, it looks like, unless we've added pages since yesterday. I was showing how this whole thing gets taken into account for existing non-conforming uses. If you are expanding the non-conforming structure, actually increasing the size of the footprint, you have to meet the code only if the expanded portion is greater than 50% of the square footage of the building and or 75% of the assessed value of the building. When you expand it that much, that's what kicks that into it. If you are changing elements of an existing building, the element that you change has to meet the new standard. So if you're putting in like a commercial building and you're putting in new windows, and the requirement of the form-based code is those windows have to be where you can see into the building at least 15 feet. The windows that you put in have to be brought into those standards. If you are changing the siding on the side that is along the street, which we have primary streets and secondary streets, if you are making changes to the facade of those, they have to meet the new standards, which there is a list of primary materials that you can use. What we're trying to develop is a consistent look in the downtown area, in the residential areas, in the commercial areas, and in the civic and institutional areas too. So that's kind of what kicks us in. That's what that chart shows. If you're expanding the parking area, then you have to address the accessibility and all those kind of things as well as part of that. That is one of the concerns we spent a long time discussing. The idea is to not make the non-conforming any worse than it is today, but if you do decide to make changes, they need to be brought up to the new standard. We're trying to put this together so the market kind of drives what happens, rather than setting standards that are so high that if you have an existing building, you can't use it because the cost of getting into it on the front end is so much. We're trying to let the market dictate what's going to happen with that. I'll tell you all today, it's not a perfect document. There are going to be things that are going to have to be changed as we move forward with this. Some of these things will have to be tested and see if there's problems. There is also a process that's written into the ordinance that allows for what's called deviations, a deviation from the standard itself. There is a limited list of what the staff can make adjustments to that doesn't have to go to the Planning Commission for review. If it's something beyond what that a list of 5 items is, then it would have to go to Planning Commission. Or if an administrative adjustment is turned down, their appeal is to the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission serves as not the Board of Deviants, but the Board of Adjustments, because we didn't think Board of Deviants sounded too good. So we're going to call it the Board of Adjustments, but it's for deviations.
Thank you.
Just, we got to have a little levity in this, because this gets really serious, and if we don't talk about that kind of stuff, it doesn't work too well. But they will serve as the Board of Adjustments, where you would be able to come and build your case for if you want to do something different than what the ordinance applies for itself. So the standard procedures, like we do everything else, you submit it to my office. There is a review period. You get your comments back. You get a chance to address those. And we move forward. It comes to the Planning Commission, and then a certificate of conformity is issued to that business or that building so that they can move forward with it and actually goes with that address. If you don't start work within a year, then you have to go back through the process. So you can't get one and wait 2 or 3 years to actually do something. Standard, what we do now, you get a building permit, you got to start working at a year. A large-scale development is good for a year. We're trying not to create a whole different process. It'll run through the same technical plat review process that we have now. We're trying to standardize those things. But the approach is different than what we use on anything else. Does that answer those kind of questions? Those are the major changes. I mean, I can do this for...
I think the main point that I think, say someone has a residence down here already and has for years, or a business, these changes won't force any requirements upon them until they make some substantial changes that
Until they wanna do something.
trigger these. Right.
Right. But if you're building something new, you have to meet the standards. If you're tearing something down, you're putting something new in, then you have to meet the new standards.
Can you just kind of walk through real quick as far as how we got to this point on the, because this hasn't just been sitting in a room going through these things. There has been bike tours, walking tours, really kind of putting everyone into a situation as far as what are we trying to create as far as this downtown piece. And I think that's important for people to understand.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. So I'm Misty Murphy. I'm with the Downtown Springdale Alliance, and we've been working hand in hand with the city on this over the last, almost year. So basically, this form-based code is an output of the Downtown Master Plan. So it's one of our first implementation pieces to come out of the Downtown Master Plan. And we know that it's really important if we want to develop in the way that the vision of the Downtown Master Plan sets out, that we're going to have to change the way we develop in the future. And so that helped us work with H3, who put together the Downtown Master Plan. They put together a rough draft, which is very similar to what you see on the website. But then we got a group of about 15 people from Springdale, business owners, city people. Patsy was on there. Some of the Planning Commission members were on there. Some city council members were on there. But we also had residents, people who really weren't a part of the community in any other way than they just owned property and a home in downtown Springdale. So we thought it was important to hear from them. As well as we talked to some architects throughout that process as well to make sure that we were getting the developers' feedback too. So about 15 people came together and spent 6 months really going line by line of this document, making sure that it was something that fit the character of Springdale and where we see it going and where the residents and the businesses want to see the city go. So we took bike tours, we looked at the neighborhoods as they are now, and we really, when we divided up the residential areas and the commercial areas, we took into account what the character of those districts are like and what makes sense to kind of put together and what makes sense to try to formulate in a different way. And I felt like that was really helpful to get an eye on the ground of what it is now, but it's also important to realize that we don't always plan for what we have now. We plan for what we want in the future. So there are some changes that will be implemented in the future with the way that things develop, and that's going to be healthy, and it's going to lead to a more economically diverse and healthy community. So then, of course, after the task force stopped meeting, I think it was in December, we then spent a lot of time working with the city and with Patsy to make sure that it was a document that they felt like they could implement, because that's the important step of that. But I like what the mayor said. I think it is important to note that if you own property downtown now, like, you don't have to do anything to that property when this goes into effect. It's only if you want to make changes to your property, and then it's only the part of your property that you're changing. So if you're changing out your windows, you just have to bring them up to the code of the windows. Or if you're putting a new roof on, it just has to meet the section that deals with the roof. So it is a very soft trigger. We looked at different communities and different form-based codes around the country to determine, how we could be fair, because we want to be sure that this is something that people can afford to do. We want our community to improve, but we want it to do it in such a way that it's not an onerous financial burden on the people who live and work here and are investing in our communities. So this is actually one of the softest triggers that I've seen in any form-based code. It actually is the softest trigger that we've seen. So we're doing this with you guys in mind, for sure.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Peyton may have some comments. He's been on a lot of the meetings.
Yeah, I would just say that a lot of careful thought has gone into this, into the process. So it wasn't taken lightly by any stretch. And Patsy and the city and Misty, there's just been and I think we've all been open to getting as much feedback as we can from anybody and everybody that wanted to talk about it, because it's kind of setting a new path, and I think we've been fortunate to see how other cities have adopted this and how we can make ours better based on what kind of lessons that we've learned from other examples. But I think what I've heard is everyone is really excited to get this in place. I know that there are a lot of people who are waiting to do something downtown, waiting to pull the trigger on a either building something new or redeveloping a property, and they were waiting on this piece to get in place before they move forward. And I think to the point that we don't want to put any extra burden on anyone who already is down here. The goal is to protect their investment and make sure that anything that comes from this point on is of quality, and it's what we want. So yeah, that's all I would say.
Thanks for your efforts, Peyton.
Yes, thank you.
Excited.
And I had a chance to sit in on several of the meetings. Obviously, Peyton and I could not at the same time, being both on the Planning Commission. But one of the things that I've seen out on social media is the stop signs on Emma and that whole piece. And I think what's great is that the city has already been proactive as far as creating this sense of a central area downtown, that it's a walkable area. And those stop signs are a way as far as to put safety in place so that people feel comfortable as far as the walking. Emma is not really designed to be a cut-through in order to get across the city. It's really to be as far as to bring people as far as the destination. And that's what's going to be exciting to see as far as what this creates on here, is that we will have more of a downtown that's a destination that has a mix as far as retail, restaurants, different social gatherings and so forth on there. So you're already seeing some of those steps take place in this whole form-based codes that have been proactive on that. So any other questions or comments? I know we're spending a lot of time, but it's really important to educate the community as far as why we're doing this and what this means as far as to the Springdale community on here. All right. So it's to the commission.
Motion to move it for council for approval.
Motion by Ms. Haney and second by Mr. Compton, and this will be a motion to move forward to the 28th.
Parker,
Yes.
Parsley,
Yes.
Benado,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
Haney.
Yes.
Amendment passes 8-0. Thank you, guys. Congratulations, Misty and team, for this. This is really a great step in the right direction. All right. Next section, rezoning R17-10, Martin Eugenia Palma, 1911 West Huntsville Avenue, from C1 to C2, presented by Hazel Pineda.
Hi, I'm Hazel Pineda. I represent my parents, and they want to,
Can you give us your address, please? Your address.
it's 1911 West Huntsville.
That's yours as well? Okay, thank you. Staff comments?
This is a .77 acre tract. The request is to rezone it from neighborhood commercial C1 to general commercial district C2. The comprehensive land use plan indicates commercial use for the area. The rezoning request is in keeping with the following goals and policies of the comprehensive land use plan, is recommended for approval. Improve the city's economic tax base and tax structure through the promotion of healthy, stable commercial concentrations. Assure adequate land allocation for commercial areas of sufficient size and in proper locations, and promote the viability of older commercial properties as well as new commercial development.
Any questions or comments from the audience? To the commission? Call for the vote. Call for vote by Mr. Powell?
Parsley,
Yes.
Benado,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Rezoning passes 8-0.
Staff will prepare the ordinance. It goes to council on the 28th of March.
All right, thank you.
All right, next item, R17-11, Arturo Martinez, lots 9 and 10, Jack's Straits, first edition, from A1 to SF2, presented by Arturo Martinez. Okay. The next item, R17-12, First Security Bank, that has been tabled per applicants. Next rezoning, R17-13, Springdale Development 2, parcels 815-37863-000, 815-37864-000, 815-30610-000, and 815-30611-000 from A1 to C5, from A1 and C5 to C6, presented by Neil Carter.
Good evening, Neil Carter, NAC Real Estate, representing my client. We're requesting that these 3 parcels be zoned from A1 to C6, and there is one that's actually a C5 going to C6.
Okay, staff comments?
The adopted comprehensive land use plan indicates regional commercial use for the area. The rezoning request is in keeping with the following goals and policies of the comprehensive land use plan, is recommended for approval. Improve the city's economic base and tax structure through the promotion of healthy, stable commercial concentrations. Assure adequate land allocation for commercial areas of sufficient size and in proper locations. And encourage the development of a wide range of commercial development for the residents and tourists, to include neighborhood, community, and regional centers.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the audience? It's to the commission. Okay, call for the vote. Call for the vote by Ms. Haney.
Benado,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Parsley.
Yes. Rezoning passes 8-0. Thank you.
Staff will prepare the ordinance. It goes to council on the 29th.
Okay, next section, preliminary plats, replats, and final plats. P 17-05, replat of lots 89 and 90, Wilby Gardens, 2195 and 2211 Eleanor Streets. And there's a variance for reduction of side setback from 12 feet to 11 feet, presented by Bates and Associates.
Good evening, Justin Reed with Bates and Associates, representing the two property owners on this replat. And basically what we're bringing to you today is can be considered basically a property line adjustment between these two lots. The house to the south, its north wall is approximately 4 inches over the property line as it currently sits. So we're asking for this replat just to clean it all up and get everybody's house on their property.
And we don't do lot line adjustments, it has to be a replat, because there's
Oh.
no way to track it as a lot line adjustment, so that's why it has to be replatted.
Gotcha.
Okay.
The side setback variance will be required, and all comments from the utility companies and other city departments must be addressed prior to approval.
Is that it? Okay. Any questions or comments from the audience? Okay, let's do the commission.
Call for the vote.
On the variance?
That's a variance.
Okay, call for a vote on the
Call for the
variance.
vote on the variance.
Okay, Powell,
Yes.
Tyler, Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Parsley,
Yes.
Panado.
Yes.
Variance passes 8-0, and then we'll need a motion subject to staff comment.
Motion to approve, subject to staff comments.
By Mr. Powell.
Second.
Second by Ms. Haney.
Tyler,
Yes.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Parsley,
Yes.
Panado,
Yes.
Powell.
Yes.
Replat passes 8-0.
If you want this to go to council next Tuesday evening, the ordinance needs to be in the mayor's office by noon on Thursday.
Noon on Thursday. Okay, thank you. And so that vote took care of the replat portion and the variance portion.
It granted the replat and it's moving the replat, it granted the variance and it's moving the replat forward to council. It actually has to be approved by council.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Okay. Next section, large-scale developments, L 17-07, R&R Tire, east side of South 48th Street, west of I-49. Concept of detention presented by Becky Whitaker and Mike Porter.
Good evening. Becky Whitaker representing RCH Engineering, and we're presenting to you a mixed-use building housing a R&R Tire Center and also their corporate office. They've been located in Springdale for some time, and they're now at the point, they've expanded to the point where they need an actual corporate office that they're interested in putting together.
Great. Staff comments?
Interior parking area landscaping is required in accordance with Chapter 56. The minimum radius to the face of the curb for driveways is 25 feet. All comments from the utility companies and other city departments must be addressed prior to approval of construction plans. This development must comply with the City of Springdale Commercial Design Standards, or a variance is required. Front, side, and rear elevations, lighting plan, and a written response to design standard comments are required at the time of resubmission. You need to submit a unified lighting plan. The concept of detention must be approved by the Planning Commission, and the site area of disturbance is greater than 1 acre. A stormwater pollution prevention plan, grading permit application, and $500 fee in accordance with Chapter 107 must be submitted to the planning office prior to final approval of construction plans.
We are aware of that, and we do have most of those items addressed. We just didn't get them in time for the February 22nd deadline for our resubmittal. We do have some colored elevations for you, and we've got the landscaping. We also have the drainage impact statement and the new drainage plan. The drainage plan does include 2 detention ponds in order to take it to a negative impact.
The only issue then that what Clayton just said is we still have to have that unified lighting plan.
Yes.
That's the only thing that's missing, so you've addressed all the other issues. You still have to get your permit, your pollution prevention plan, your SWIP and all that stuff, and a grading permit.
Yes.
I know there was some work that was started out there, and all that's been stopped until all that gets taken care of.
Yes, we're aware of that.
Okay, so you need to get a unified lighting plan in before we can approve the set of plans.
Okay.
Okay?
Any comments from the audience? Okay, let's do the commission.
This is a motion subject to staff comments.
Motion subject to staff comments.
Second.
Oh, we would have, do we have to do the concept of detention?
Yeah, we have to do it too, yes.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Covert, second by Mrs. Haney.
Covert,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Parsley,
Yes.
Panado,
Yes.
Howell,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Compton.
Yes.
Passes 8-0.
Call for the vote on the concept of detention.
Call for the vote by Mr. Powell.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert, Haney, Parker,
Yes.
Parsley,
Yes.
Panado,
Yes.
Howell,
Yes.
Tyler.
Yes.
Concept of detention passes 8-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, L17-08, Tyson Elementary Media Center, southwest corner of Chapman and Cambridge. I'll also call out L17-09, Walker Elementary Media Center, 1701 South 40th Street, presented by McGoodwood, Williams, and Yates.
Good evening, Chris Brackett. I'm with McGowan, Williams and Yates, and Dr. Cleveland's here also to represent the school district, and we'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Staff comments?
First one will be the Tyson Elementary Media Center. Handicap ramps shall be provided wherever sidewalk crosses a curb at crosswalks, driveways, and street intersections. Need to show details of handicap ramps. Frontage landscaping is required in accordance with Chapter 56. Perimeter landscaping is also required in accordance with Chapter 56. The landscaping island is required at a rate of 1 per 15 parking spaces in accordance with Chapter 56. Interior parking area landscaping, show the total area of the parking lot, the percentage of the landscaping required, and the percentage of landscaping provided. Include a drawing that identifies all areas included in the calculations. Need a landscape plan that shows the details of the landscaped areas, including type, size, and location of plants. An automatic or other irrigation system shall be required for all landscaped areas. Landscaping has to be guaranteed for 2 years. The minimum width of a drive for two-way traffic is 24 feet. The minimum width of a drive for a one-way traffic is 15 feet. Minimum radius to the face of the curb from driveways is 25 feet. Minimum distance between driveways on adjoining properties is 50 feet, and 150 feet on a single track. Show the street center lines, show all utility lines, show all existing easements, and all comments from the utility companies and other city departments must be addressed prior to approval of construction plans. The site area of disturbance is less than a half acre, so a grading permit is not required. However, please advise the contractor owner that although the site is less than 1 acre, we do expect all grading and erosion BMPs to be used to protect the existing storm drainage system. We require a SWIP and erosion control plans in the event of discharges of sediment from the site.
All right.
Dr. Cleveland, can you just briefly explain the purpose of these media centers?
Yeah, the purpose of the media centers, especially at the older buildings, is to bring them up to date, to meet what we call our suitability requirements that the state asks us to do with our facilities. So this is an effort to do that, and so these are our last two that we'll do.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the audience? Okay, let's do the commission. Let's be on L17-08.
Make a motion, subject to staff comments.
Motion by Ms. Haney, second by Mr. Powell.
Haney,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Parsley,
Yes.
Panado,
Yes.
Howell,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert.
Yes.
Large scale passes 8-0. And then LC 17-09.
Motion to approve.
She's got to go through the details.
it
on
has
I'm
that
sorry,
one.
we're going to do that one. I'm sorry.
A screening fence is required in accordance with Chapter 56. Show trees associated with the screen. Frontage landscaping is required. Perimeter landscaping is required. Landscaped islands are required at the rate of 1 per 15. Interior parking area landscaping is required. Show the total area of the parking lot, the percentage of landscaping required, and the percentage of landscaping provided. Include a drawing that identifies all areas included in the calculations. Need a landscape plan. An automatic or irrigation system shall be required for all landscaped areas. Show irrigation system or location of hose bibs. Landscaping must be guaranteed for 2 years. Minimum width of drive for two-way is 24 feet. For a one-way traffic is 15 feet. Maximum width of drive exclusive of radius is 40 feet. Minimum radius to the face of the curb is 25 feet. Show all existing easements. All comments from the utility companies and other city departments must be addressed prior to approval of construction plans. Benchmark data coordinate system and basis of bearing, we would prefer the survey coordinated to the Arkansas State Plane NAVD 88. The side area of disturbance is less than a half acre, so a grading permit is not required. However, please advise the contractor owner that although the site is less than 1 acre, we do expect all grading and erosion BMPs to be used to protect the existing storm drainage system. We will require a SWIP and erosion control plans in the event of discharge of sediment from the site.
Any questions or comments from the audience? Okay, it's to the commission.
Motion to approve, subject to staff comments.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Haney, second by Mr. Covert.
Parker?
Yes.
Parsley?
Yes.
Benado?
Yes.
Howell?
Yes.
Tyler?
Yes.
Compton?
Yes.
Covert?
Yes.
Haney?
Yes.
Large scale passes 8-0. Thank you.
It must be bad if I'm the one that's getting warm, because
It is warm up
it's
here.
cold, so it must be really bad in here tonight.
All right, next section, Board of Adjustments, B 17-10, Miguel Amador, 3154 Chelsea Lane, variance for reduction of side setback from 8 feet to 5 feet. Variance to increase the height of storage building from 16 to 18 feet, presented by Miguel Amador.
Okay, hello, my name is Miguel Amador. I guess just if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. Never done this before, so.
Staff comments?
Misha back there? Is this is a code issue,
Yeah.
or is it a building issue?
And each of you guys should have in front of you as far
I think
as
it's a building
notes.
issue.
It's a building issue. We had a code violation on there, but I think he recently complied. I think most of the things that were code violation were put in the building.
Okay, so we'll let Mike talk about this one.
This is one that came to us via complaint. Unfortunately, Mr. Amador didn't know he needed a permit, or Lowe's didn't know they needed a permit as he explained it. And so they built this building in the backyard in the south side setback, about 3 foot. The size of the building isn't really an issue. Believe it or not, you can have one the size it is on the property as long as you can meet everything we've got. As far as the 18 foot, I was out there Thursday afternoon with Mr. Amador. We were measuring. It's really a few inches over 16 foot is what it is, but I guess he was advised when he came in to make sure he asked for plenty as far as the height went. If this is granted, then of course he can get permits. If not, then we'll proceed from that point. Any questions for me?
No. Great. Thank you, Mike.
Is there people living in this storage building?
No, the main reason why I got it was because my brother-in-law is also living with us, so he has a lot of stuff, and then his daughter is autistic, so she has a ton of things that they use, like for her therapy. It's usually every Thursday. So they have toys and different things. And then our family as well, we have a lot of things. I have a 18-month-old, and then I have a 6-year-old. So we have toys, and we have some games and stuff that we put in there, so it's a 2-level building. So the top level, we just use it for, to put all of our stuff in. And then the bottom level is just kind of like a little bit of extra space, that way it's not fully crowded, because I used to have a smaller building, and it's just, I couldn't walk around, I couldn't do anything in there. So that's the reason why I got that building from Lowe's.
Does it have power to it? And
No, it does not have power to it. Occasionally when I do go back there, I'll run an extension cord to, to
Well, we had
get
an
light.
email
But
that was submitted questioning some of that, so that's the reason I brought that up.
I will say, last Thursday afternoon, there was no sign of habitation. There was insulation, things on top. Obviously, he's getting ready to insulate the building. Some storage in the bottom. There was nothing that we would normally look for as signs of someone living there. But
And it can be used as a living quarters.
Okay. Any other comments? All right.
Unless the fire department has some issues with the side setback from 8 to 5 and the increase of the height of the structure.
We don't support side
When you
rear
come to the,
setbacks.
Debbie's going to be after you if you don't come to the microphone.
Fire department does not support side or rear setbacks.
Variances to either one of those.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the audience? If you'll just come up to the mic and state your name and address, please.
My name's David Stevens. I live at 3155 Chelsea Lane, across the street from him. I've asked him to move his cars where it's blocking my driveway. I have to jump the curb with my pickup to get in and out of my driveway. When I got my boat on there, I have to jump the curb again to get my boat out of there. out of my own driveway. It's putting wear and tear on my tires because he won't move it. The police come out finally and told him to move his Jeep. He moves it, puts it in his garage, puts another vehicle out there right in the same spot because they got 5 vehicles there, and they are people living in your shed. You can stand up here and lie and say they're not, but I've seen it. The people come in through his garage, go through the side and into the shed after dark. If you want to catch them, come out there at dark and you'll catch them.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
No. But a man and a woman living in a house, 5 vehicles? My God, wake up. You know there's more people than that.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the audience?
Has our city police made any kind of report on this claim?
Yeah, they came to my house and they checked the building out, and so did Mike, I believe his name was. I forgot his name, sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I would have to check Cat. I can get back with you in just a few minutes.
If you would, please. Okay. Any other comments or questions from the commission?
So this area is a single-family residence. That's correct?
I was told it was a multifamily.
It's zoned MF12.
Zoned in MF12.
It's zoned MF12, but yours is a single-family structure. It's not designed for multifamily. It's not a duplex or anything like that. It is a building that was built for single-family, but it's zoned MF12.
How many people are living in the home
It's
permanently?
permanently,
Yes.
just my brother-in-law. My best friend, who I've known for years, is currently,
Keep going.
he's currently there right now, temporarily, because his where he was living at, he was living in Fayetteville, and he was paying rent there with one of his roommates, and apparently
I don't care about the
he-
circumstances. I'm just
Okay.
asking, how many people live in the home now?
Okay, so it's him, and then it's my brother-in-law, me, my wife, and do you want me to name the kids? Do the kids too?
Yes.
My son, my daughter, and then I don't know if you would call this permanent, but my brother-in-law's daughter, she stays there like 1 week, and then the other week she's with his mom. So I don't know if that would be considered permanent or not.
Is that it?
Yes,
So there's 7 residents in the home.
yes.
Misha, has there been, from a code enforcement piece, as far as the parking of vehicles or excess vehicles or even parking in the grass or anything like that?
We haven't had any, we did receive the complaint about the parking in the street. Unfortunately, it is legal at this time to park in the street, even if that does affect ingress, egress of someone's property. It is an ordinance that we are looking at to help with that. We do have an excess amount of parking in the street right now, so.
So he can park his vehicles in front of his property?
No, he can park his vehicles in front of his own property.
Right.
But we don't have an ordinance or anything that says that he can't park anywhere in front of his property, even if that affects someone pulling in and pulling out. We don't have that ordinance at this time.
Does it have to be on the same side of the street that they live on, or can you park on both sides of the street?
If it has to be parked in front of his house on the same side of the street,
So parking across the street.
would not be allowed for him. No.
But that street is so narrow.
Yeah.
When he parks directly behind my driveway,
If you'll come to the mic.
I'm going to move the curb to get out of my driveway when I go to work.
If you want to have comments, you need to come to the mic on it so we can record it.
That street is so narrow. When I go in and out of my driveway, going to work, coming home, on the weekend, when I take my bass boat out, I'm hopping the curb, and you know that. I've told you. But you won't move your car when I ask you. I mean,
Okay.
I'm tired of tearing up my tires. Everyone here knows what curbs does to tires. You keep hopping them day in, day.
Okay.
And sometimes
So
I
the
go-
parking, and I appreciate the comments on that. The parking is going to be something that code enforcement addresses on here. But I appreciate your comments. I'm not discounting that at all. What about the building? Any questions or comments that you had on the building itself?
All I know is he built a building that's 2 stories tall, and I see people going in it of the nighttime and not coming out until daytime.
Okay. Thank you. Do you have an answer?
Yes, I
do.
Okay.
There's been several reports of parking violations from this gentleman at 3155 where he's complaining. So there was 2 of those, one on January 20th and another one on March the 3rd. Other than that, there's been some, he's reported some crimes at his house.
All right. Any other questions or comments?
I was going to make
Yes,
a
sir.
comment about that. We have talked about the cars, but I have I've tried to help him out. I told him that I would move it forward, but my mailbox is there, and the mailman has left me warning signs that I can't get any closer to it. So I told him I was like, I'm going to pull forward as much as I can until the mailman tells me that that's as far as I can go. And so I've tried to help him. I don't park my cars out there to be mean to him. I would like to help him, but I can't put that car anywhere. If I could put it in the backyard, I would, but I'm pretty sure that's against code.
It is.
So,
It is.
So I mean, that's all I can do, and I've done what I can, and I am sorry. I don't know where you went, but
The only,
Yeah, Peyton.
If you need the space in front of your house, you can stop delivery from the post office and get a P.O. box. Then the post office wouldn't be bringing mail to your house anymore.
Okay.
So that's an option if you need that spot.
yes, that would. Do you know if they? I'll ask later.
Yeah,
probably.
if you go to the post
That
office.
would be a good idea.
I know that what we're dealing with is the building,
Yes. Okay.
and issues have come up with family residence, it's zoned multifamily. We have cars all over the place. Do you have a 2-car garage? And
Yes.
is it full, is your cars in there?
Okay,
And cars on the
so,
driveway?
yeah, so I have, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so there's 5 cars. I have 2 cars in the garage, and then my brother-in-law's car, so it's 1 car for me, 1 car for my wife. My brother-in-law's car is in the driveway, but it's back because in order for us to, be able to get out, he can't park right in front of the garage, so he's further back, and then there can only be 1 in the driveway, otherwise the other cars can't get out. So I also have a
Unless
hard.
he goes and moves it. I mean,
Yes,
you could
unless-
park
but-
all the way up there
yes,
and be
but-
able to get someone to move it so you can bring the car out of the garage.
Right, but unfortunately, that's very difficult because we all work different schedules. My wife works overnight, I work early in the morning, and then they need the keys. Sometimes they go to my mom's house to drop off the kids as well. So
I'll just say, it can be difficult, but you're asking for a variance, which means you're not currently in regulation. So I think it probably behooves you to make sure that you're nice with your neighbors and that everybody gets along. You got spots for 5 cars. If you've got a 2-car garage, 2 spots in the driveway, you can park 1 on the street. You've got room for 5
Right, well,
without being in the way.
that's what I was just saying, is that it's difficult, not because it's
I'm
inconvenience,
saying I
because
understand it.
they're not home and I don't have the keys, so sometimes I can't move the car. Sometimes it's not
I
possible.
agree. I'm just saying, sometimes
Yes.
you can't.
Yeah, and I try,
Make it work.
I've tried, and that's why I wanted to make these comments, is that I have tried to help them, in what I can, and I am going to do what she suggested. I hadn't even thought about that. I'll try and get a P.O. box, and that way I can just move the car forward, and that way it won't, it won't bother him. Because I don't want to bother anyone.
I've got a question about the building.
Yes,
You went to have this built, you went to Lowe's, right?
yes.
And they said that they were going to take care of the permit. Is that correct?
So Lowe's, for that building that I got, they said it was a third-party building. So I was told that, when we were checking out, they were like, oh, well, yeah, they were going to call a third party, you're going to get a hold of them, they'll call you, they'll get a time and date set up, they'll draw the permit, and we'll go from there. And that's exactly what they told me, and I remember they said it just like that, well, they'll withdraw the permit. So I was like, okay, I've never had to get a permit for anything, so I've never done anything like that with permits, so I trusted Lowe's. I was like, okay, you know, I spoke to the Pro Services people. I don't remember their names, but it was the Pro Services people, and they're the ones that told me that.
You asked
Then
them, did
I
you ask
called
them
them.
if they had a permit when they came out to build the building?
No, well, I didn't know if, I didn't think to, you know. I'm sure it was now that we're here, I'm like, well, I probably should have asked them, but I didn't think to in the moment. I just kind of trusted it, you know. It's Lowe's, you know. I know it was a third party through Lowe's, but I had trust, you know. I didn't really have any doubts that they wouldn't do what they were supposed to, or what they, you know, were supposed to do. I didn't think they would do anything wrong.
You were just assuming that they were going to build it according to code.
Well, because they said that they would draw a permit, and I don't, like I said, I've never gotten a permit, so I don't know what it looks like. I don't know where they put it. I don't know if there's, apparently, you know, what Mike told me was that you're supposed to have it in front, and I didn't know that before. I thought getting a permit was just going somewhere and asking, oh, well, can we do this building? And then they're like, okay, and then they just go and do it. You know, I didn't know anything, and I know not knowing rules is not an excuse. But I'm just telling it like it is. That's how it happened. And I called them back, and I asked them to move the building for me. And they said they didn't have the equipment to do it. And, you know, they agreed. Initially, they agreed, and they were like, oh, well, we don't have the equipment. And then the lady told me, well, how about this? How about we pay for half, and then you pay for the other half to get it moved, if you can just find someone, you know, to call around. And they called around as well. And then about an hour after we spoke, another guy called me back. I don't know who he was, but he called me back kind of upset from Lowe's. And he was like, well, we told you that you needed to get a permit, and so it's your fault, so we're not going to pay for anything. And I looked around, and I couldn't afford, you know, any of the big equipment to move such a big building. Otherwise, I would. So that's why I set the variance application. I see if I could possibly leave it.
Okay.
And I
don't have a
spoke to
problem-
I'm sorry. I spoke to my neighbor as well, the neighbor that the building is closest to, and he says he's okay with it being there. You know, he says he has no problem with it at all. He said he was going to try and make it, but he has to work until 6, so.
He may
I
sell
don't know
his
if he
house
will.
and not be there next month. So, I mean, we got to think about other people that live next door too. You know,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
He may sell his house, so he may be okay with it, and he
Oh,
may
okay.
sell it, and somebody new may be there
Right.
next month.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
you know, I think the thing that I was looking for is, I didn't have a huge issue with the building, and I wanted to see if you would make sure that your neighbor was happy, because you're obviously
Yeah, like I
making
said,
it
I
difficult on him. And
don't.
what I wanted to hear was, yes, we'll make it work and take care of him and be no problems. But, you know, that's not what I heard. So.
Right. Well, I mean, that's basically what I'm trying to say is that I don't want any problems, and I will do what I can, you know, to take care of it.
Okay.
So, you know.
Thank you.
Okay.
My concern is because of the size of the building encroaching on that side setback. You know, if it was a small storage building, I wouldn't be as concerned, but a huge building like that, when you're looking at the fire codes, could be a big issue with a big wooden building, and you're running power to it here and there. So,
What is, so is 16 feet our maximum?
They measured it.
Is 16 feet our maximum, Mike? And he's a little over 16 feet? By,
I measured it myself as accurately as I could because it's really hard. I didn't have a tall enough ladder. But I feel like I got pretty close, and what I measured was 16 feet and 9 inches is what I measured.
And that is going to be very close.
The building itself is 16 feet, but it's on some blocks that make it go over.
And there's a slope
To
to the
level
yard
it.
to the south.
Yeah.
So it is taller from the south side than it is the north elevation.
So it's from the highest elevation on that? Okay. And that highest elevation
Yeah, 'cause
is
it's-
just over 16?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, sir. If you can state your name and address at the mic, please.
Are you speaking about a shed?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Dale Stickler. I live at 406 Zachary. I want to know what citizen in this room knows that there is a shed ordinance? Who knows? That's it, one. Nobody, I spoke to many people in this town, nobody knows there's a shed ordinance that discloses where you can put it, so many feet from the fence, so many feet from the house, and only so big. Nobody knows that, because when you build one where you need it and how big you need it. Because I was told mine was out of compliance with all three, but it's there, nothing I can do about it. So, I never knew there was a shed ordinance. I've been in this town all my life. So.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Let's do the commission.
Call for the vote.
Call for the vote by Mrs. Haney.
Are y'all going to do both of them together?
Oh.
Rittleton?
No.
Covert?
Yes.
Haney?
No.
Parker?
No.
6 no, 2 yes. So the variance for reduction of side setback does not pass.
Your appeal process is through the circuit court. You have 30 days to file the appeal. Otherwise, it has to be removed after that 30-day time period. In that 30-day, or at the end of that 30-day time period. If you haven't filed the appeal, is that how it works?
And then we have the variance.
Yes.
Compton?
No.
Covert?
Yes.
Haney?
No.
Mine would be yes.
Oh, yes, okay, Kevin Parsley, sorry about that.
Yes, on that one. So 6 to 2 as far as on the height.
Basically, you got to move your building.
Okay? Any other questions that you have? And a lot of what we had on there is, you heard from the fire department as far as they don't, on side setbacks. And that, I think that is one of those that influences for us that vote on there is the fire department and not being in support of those side setbacks. Okay?
Okay.
So if you have questions on that, Mike, you'd be able to help with any questions that you might have on that. So he'll meet you outside.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next item, B 17-11, Larry Deviney, 1517 Bacchus, reduction of side setback from 8 feet to 3 feet. Deletion of paved parking requirement with a 2-year bill of assurance, presented by Larry Deviney.
Hello, my name is Larry Deviney.
Okay. Staff comments?
Okay, is this a code issue or is this a building issue too?
It's both. We have, he brought in some gravel, and we had a meeting with Larry, Tom and I did. We talked about the building and its location, and then the gravel and its location, and then some of the parking issues. So we do have an open case on it.
So is it a accessory building that is on blocks that can be moved?
Yes.
Okay, so right now it sits into the side setback, and you're asking it to be reduced so you can leave it where it is?
Yes.
Okay. And then the paving requirement is for the driveway itself, you put in gravel, and with a 2-year bill of assurance, that means you have to have it done in 2 years, and it's filed as a lien on that piece of property?
Yes, I actually have it in process, ready to be paved. They're working to get a permit with the city right now.
Okay. And is there a reason why you can't move the building?
I don't have any place to put it. It won't fit in the backyard through either way that the gate sits, and there's just no way to get it back there. There's a diagonal fence that kind of hinders us from getting it that extra few feet away from the house.
May I make one more comment, though? When we visited with Mr. Deviney, one of the things that we did talk about was some of the parking issues. He has a very tight area to park, and some of the people that visit him have some large vehicles. So we did talk about not parking in the grass. We are still struggling with parking in the grass and with parking on the sidewalk. So I don't know if that leaving that building there affects any more area for parking or not. I don't know if he's going to need more parking, but we can't stay the same way that we are parking on the sidewalk if people come visit or parking in the grass.
Thank you. Patsy, anything else? Okay. Any questions or comments from the audience? Oh, I'm sorry.
Do you have anything that's parked in front of the house, on the side or anything?
Two cars are parked in front, the driveway and in front of the storage building.
If you'll come up to the mic.
No, I'll speak to this gentleman first. I mean,
Well, we're taking public comment right now, not,
I'm wanting to know is what is he parking where? What is he parking where?
what do you mean? He's parking vehicles and people in his driveway, and from what Misha said, in the yard, and then when they have visitors, they're parking in the yard and along the street?
On the
And on the
sidewalk.
sidewalk, yeah, and on the sidewalk, right.
Well, you can park the street if you have to, correct?
Not on
Not on
Bacchus.
Bacchus because of the classification of the streets. You can't park on that street.
Okay, well, one thing that drew attention to my address was I have a boat and a trailer that sit beside my house. One beside the house, one in front of the other. Both of them are too wide to fit between the fence and the house. I can't get them in the backyard. I told officers that time and time again. They're too wide, I can't get them back there. And I said, I can't park them in the street. So they're on me about that. So, and I've lived there 17 years. Nobody said squat to me. You know, so what difference does it make if I park my trailer there? Nobody complains about it. You know, so what? Just a little flatbed trailer.
Any other questions or comments?
What's wrong with it?
Well, right now-
Other than it being out of the so-called city ordinance.
Okay, that's going to be the issue. The city has adopted regulations on how things can be parked, and it's code enforcement's responsibility to, if they receive a complaint, to address those issues.
There was no
So those areas
complaint.
can be brought into compliance.
Down my door.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
We're going to take these separately?
Yeah, I mean, I think I just want to bring up again with the, getting that close side setback on such a small lot. I think if he has space in the backyard, he may have to do a storage building in the backyard, or perhaps check with the neighbors about removing fence to get something in the back where it's not on that side street.
It won't fit, there's
Close.
a big tree between the lots, it won't go between the big tree and the house, even if we could take the fence
Yeah.
down.
I mean, you know, it's, each house has limitations,
Sure.
and so sometimes you have to live within the limitations of the house.
Understand?
How long has the building been there?
I think it was early January.
So it's fairly brand new on that one. Okay.
Yes. I moved out of a bigger house and downsized into a smaller house, and I didn't have room to put all of my stuff into it. I've rented 2 other storage buildings, and it kind of seemed, you know, just feasible to buy a storage building that was mine and put my stuff in it was the reason for it.
Okay. All right, you guys want to take these separate, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Call for the vote on the side setback.
Call for vote by Ms. Haney.
Powell,
No.
Tyler,
No.
Compton,
No.
Covert,
No.
Haney,
No.
Parker, Parsley,
No.
Nato,
No.
This does not pass.
Okay. Again, your recourse is to appeal to
Eight, sir.
circuit court, has to be filed within 30 days. If not filed the appeal, then the storage building needs to be moved.
Okay.
And then deletion of paving requirement with a 2-year bill of assurance.
Call for the vote.
Call for the vote by Mr. Powell.
Tyler,
Yes.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert, Haney,
Yes.
Parker, Parsley?
Yes.
Benado?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Okay.
The deletion of paid parking with a 2-year bill of assurance passes 8-0.
You need to come by the office. We need to get the bill of assurance put together so you can sign it and we can file it. Okay?
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, B 17-12, Susan Hutchcroft, 1073 North Monitor Road, to increase size of portable building from 529 square feet to 739 square feet, presented by Susan Hutchcroft.
Hi.
Hi.
Well, I guess just start asking me questions.
Okay, staff comments?
Okay, is this, who gets credit? Mike gets credit for this one too, okay?
We don't really need the credit for anything.
Okay, okay.
You know, again, this is a building that I think unfortunately you started because you didn't know you needed a permit. It's an addition to an existing building. It's been there for some time. I believe you told me you bought the property around 2000,
Yes.
and that building was there then.
Right.
And of course, you've been cleaning up since. The building that's there is portable. The addition was permanent, that she started and stopped construction on. It's really not an issue as far as setbacks go. It's just a matter of the size.
Increasing the size from 529
Correct.
to
It's kind of a-
739 square feet.
A combination of the portable, non-portable parts.
It really doesn't even have a floor to it. It's going to be all gravelled. It's mainly for storage because the property does not have a garage or anything on it. And so I'm an artist and I was trying to make it look very pleasing to the eye instead of I was told I could put another storage unit 10 feet away from it, but this looks much better.
How large is your property?
Well, I own more than what this lot is on. The lot is pretty small. It's like, I can't even, you know, my driveway actually is over into the other property that I own. So the lot is pretty small that 1073 is on. But I own 1101 too, which I'm thinking about selling to my son.
Drive down Monitor Road, you will not be able to see the building because there's.
What, you know, I mean, to me, it didn't look like, you're not encroaching on any setbacks and.
No.
She's just increasing the size of the.
Yeah.
Storage structure.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from the audience on this one? Okay, it's to the commission.
Does our fire department have any issues with this?
When you talk about residential, we don't have a lot to say on that. It falls under the volume 3 of the residential code, not the fire code, volume 1.
There's no encroachments on the setbacks, so there's not an issue as far as you're concerned, because there's no encroachment on the setbacks.
When we talk about these other buildings we've been discussing, that falls under volume 3 of the residential. Once it gets within so many feet, then you have to fire protect it. The other is the ordinances, but of course, the fire department, again, does not support moving wood structures closer and closer to property lines because then you have to protect one property from the other.
This one doesn't have any encroachments on setbacks.
This will be a call for the vote.
Call for the vote.
Call for the vote by Mr. Powell.
Compton?
Yes.
Covert?
Yes.
Haney?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Parsley?
Yes.
Benado?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Tyler?
Yes.
Passes 8-0.
Yippee.
You need to get with Mike about a permit for it.
Okay, thanks.
Next item B 17-13, Kip and Kelly Rankin, 1002 Shaver Street. Variance for deletion of fencing requirement, variance to deletion of paving requirement, presented by Kip and Kelly Rankin.
Hi, I'm Kelly Rankin. We're requesting a variance on the paving and screening ordinance for our business.
Okay.
Have comments?
Misha, you want to address this one?
This is pretty cut and dry. It was screening of storage materials. We require a minimum of 8 feet and a screening wall, and all storage items or any parking be on a dust-free surface, concrete asphalt bituminous.
And right now, is there a screening fence of any kind?
I think there's a chain link in there.
Chain link fence?
Yeah.
Chain link all the way around,
Yeah.
except for part of it is
Okay.
And I believe some of it is paved and dust-free, some of it is not. There's some vehicles and things that are parked on some areas, so.
Anything else? Any comments or questions from the audience to the commission?
What are we screening?
Pardon me?
What needs to be
We
screened?
are an installation company, and that's our lot that we bring our vehicles in. As far as the storage of material, our materials come in on pallets, and they are returned to the manufacturer for credit. So they're coming and going. They're not stored, stay there long-term, or anything like that. We just park our trucks on the gravel itself.
The issue was the pallets. They were stacked, ready for pickup, because they go in and out, like you said. Very neatly stacked, not any higher than the 6-foot fence that was there. And that goes back and forth, but we have it on the very back side of the property. And then there are, our trucks and vehicles and stuff that go in and out as well, but.
Compared to the adjoining properties that are across the street from us, our lot looks great compared to what we look at every day.
I mean, the 6-foot chain link fence and gravel is the norm in the park that we're in. I guess you call it the Shaver Business Park or something, I don't know. It's been there forever. But that's pretty much the norm all the way around. There are no 8-foot fences. There are 6-foot chain links just about everywhere. There's a couple of wrought iron type or screened metal, the small square metal, but not any metal fences or any type of 8-foot
We'll make sure there's no
fences.
permanent storage and things
No.
that are, it's a kind of a quick turnaround.
Yes, yeah, no permanent storage. No, these are, the big issue are these pallets, and they do go in and out.
And how many vehicles?
We have,
There's quite a few vehicles
Yeah, there's
in
for
there.
sure. We have a lot of people, we install 1,500 houses a year, so we have vehicles there.
we have 13 employees. We have 4 large box trucks that are in and out. And then, our vehicles that are,
Do they stay there at night? Do the box trucks stay there at night?
Yes.
Okay, so they're over and on weekends as well, unless you have a job?
yes, unless, they're always out on Saturday.
These pallets that you have, are those standard size pallets or are
Yes.
they?
40 by 48, 4-side.
When they come and pick them up, are they putting them in an enclosed trailer?
They put them in a curtain side trailer and haul them back to the shop.
Okay.
But
I'm just curious why they could not be stored in an enclosed trailer. I mean, especially if you're stacking those, that's a big safety hazard on there as far as any of those pallets like that, so.
On the truck?
No,
That
I'm
goes back?
talking as far as if you stack them on your lot,
Mhm.
and if they're not secured, I mean, that's a big safety hazard on there.
As
but-
in, I'm trying to follow what's,
We've never had any issues with it. I mean, they're not stacked more than, 6 feet, and they are stacked very neatly. And it's only for a matter of days. I mean, it's a period of, I understand what you're saying as
Mhm.
far as falling, or I could see that, but it's an area that we don't work in.
Okay.
The forklift moves them, and
you just gave a C of O in January. It's less than a half mile from his zone, just like us, that has chain link fence, 6 foot high, and they store just like we do.
yeah, we
So
have
I
a
guess
lot of
we're trying to figure out
pallets.
how they can get a C of O in January for a brand new building, and you're going back on us and saying, hey, you need to make it like this.
Well, we haven't changed anything yet.
Yeah.
Let's be clear on that one.
I think
so.
our big issue was that it is the norm.
A few councilmen here. Several weeks ago, we came to committee, Misha or are addressing. The council, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but the desire of the council or the committee that night seemed to be just to go ahead like we're going and allow, and I know there are degrees of what should be acceptable and what shouldn't. But without any other direction, then code enforcement's going to continue to have to deal with these and let the property owners come in and ask for whatever variances that they may need. But this, you all are familiar with this area, and it is an area where there are a lot of businesses that do similar things.
And to me, this is just me, areas like this, and Misha and I have had this conversation, areas that are like this, it's different than this being in the middle of an area where nothing else, where you may have residential around it, or high-end commercial buildings, or some things like that, or it's very visible from a major thoroughfare. There are reasons that we have variances, that we offer variances, the opportunity for variances, and that's why y'all get paid the big bucks to decide if those are appropriate. I just wanted to kind of set the table and remind everyone about this area, but also that you're probably going to have a lot of these, and I know that you want to try and treat everybody as consistently as you can, and that's what we try and do, and I know that's what you try and do. So I just know that going forward, you're going to need to have that in your mind as more of these come forward. However you determine to treat this particular variance. So thanks.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor, no, this was not initiated by a complaint to them personally, right? Or to
I'm going to let Misha answer
Okay.
that. Well, I think we did have some complaints out there, like you alluded to, but when we do that, and Misha, correct me if I'm wrong, but when that happens, so that people don't believe they're getting just singled out, we tend to hit an area, whether it's a neighborhood or a commercial area like this.
My question was, they didn't get the initial complaint.
No. No. A complaint had come in over the area itself, and I don't think any of us can say that we have driven through that and not said, hey, they need to clean up some. I mean, we've kind of let things go. But we did get a couple of specific complaints on some of the properties and then general complaints over the whole area. So we started addressing them. Currently, and we can't address every property at one time. We just don't have the staff. These go a little bit longer, so we pick a street, we pick an area. We currently have 6 cases open on Shaver Street. We're down to 2 on Sterwin. We've got 3 more on Yukon. We haven't addressed Clayton. We haven't addressed Century. We have some properties that are bringing them into full compliance. We have some that are applying for permits. We have some that are applying for variances. Again, I don't think anyone could drive through and say that we didn't need to do some kind of work over there. The businesses need to clean up a little bit, but we will eventually address every property over there because that's the right and fair thing to do. So we won't just look like we're addressing one street or the other, but we'll just take some time in doing that.
Can I also say that, as I mentioned to the inspector, our intent was always to cover the front fence area that is open. We have metal fence on one side and then chain link. But the entire front part of the property is chain link between 2 steel posts, metal around them. So our intent was to cover that. But of course, the 8-foot requirement was there. So even if I had covered that, he said we still wouldn't be in compliance because of the 8-foot requirement. So our goal was to cover that so that if the pallets were there, then nobody could see them because we had a covered fence. But we already have 6 foot there. So we'd have to take it all out to do an 8-foot. So we want to work within the code, of course, and again, we try to make sure that our property is clean. The issue were these pallets, and if you look straight across the street from us, I mean, it is a wreck over there. And so our concern, my first question to him was, and you stopped here for what reason? I mean, so anyway, I know that they're trying to do this across the board, but it would be considerable financial burden on us to try to bring this all the way up to code like that.
The paving would be astronomical, and based on the way the lot lays, we would have a serious drainage problem, and we would probably flood our other building. And I don't even know where to take the water to.
I mean, the dirt work alone would be tens of thousands of dollars, not to mention concrete and or asphalt or whatever the bid would be. The fence, again, I mean, this is an acre-sized property. It's a lot of, it'd be a lot to do.
So you're paved up to your fence, up to your gate?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Your
Yeah.
driveway,
yes, sir. Yeah.
Right. And
Yes.
across the road, if I remember right, that's PVC
The,
piping and all
yes.
kinds of stuff
uh-huh.
laying out there?
Bathtubs and stuff like
Right.
that, yeah, and it's all on gravel.
Yep.
And we have gravel. Our trucks and everything drive on gravel. It was all grass, but, I mean, we have gravel.
Misha?
I just want to clarify one thing, because I don't want there to be confusion on this. We're kind of talking two different things. Remember that we do not have to screen uses. They don't have to screen the entire property. So if they want to use a small area for storage of certain items, they just need to, the ordinance would require them to have a dust-free surface and screen just that area. So we're not asking them to screen the entire property. If they choose to narrow that down, if they even can narrow that down, that would just be the area that would need to be screened. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there.
The inspector made it sound that, the officer that day made it sound that our trucks, the height of our trucks are a problem. And we're talking about, 20-foot fence to try to, I mean, that was an issue. I don't.
The ordinance does say if you are going to store.
Yeah, here's the thing on, and Patsy, I don't know what our option is going to go rampant across the city as far as these things, as far as, if we let this, for this one particular area, draw the line on that.
So you're asking, can we go back and look at this as an area that would have screening and/or paving requirements that are unique just to this area?
Or at least do something different as far as alternatives to that paving requirement. Just to deal with what's in front of us on here. I'm not in favor as far as just continuing to grant waiver or variances on these and only to have the next ones come about and because we don't do anything to really improve. It's just accepting as far as it is what it is, and there's nothing we can do about it. And I think there is something that we can do about some of this, but I'm not in favor as far as handling these as far as a one-off. So I don't know if there's kind of a grace period that we can be able to give on this so that we can actually address some of this over a period of time. Because quite honestly as well, this is not a good use as far as community engagement resources to continue to address these on here.
We did hold, Misha, we held off for a while on some of these and until we had our conversation with the committee. And I think if this comes to the committee now that you all have looked at this, if you want to send a request to the committee, to our, then we can ask them we can hold off on some of these that are addressed in this area until, and we can make another run at it. I think rather than just a suggestion by me and by Misha, I think if you all, and realizing that you're going to have a lot of these to deal with, and we all want to treat everybody the same as much as possible. Now there are some that probably are beyond the pale and need to do something, even if they are next to another business or another industrial type structure. But we can sure, if you all want to ask that the council committee look at this and see if we want to maybe look at a way. Code enforcement needs, if they're not going to address all these issues, they need a way not to address them.
Yeah,
right?
and that's what I'm wanting to be able to tackle. But I'm also interested as well as far as any future businesses that come in this area. I mean, we've got to continue to do what we can to bring standards up and that whole piece, but at the same time, not cause a cost-prohibitive burden on the existing property owners there. But that's my recommendation as far as we do send it to committee. I don't know how formally we need to address that, if that's any type of motion or just...
Well, basically, you'll be tabling this variance request and giving the mayor, through the mayor, the instructions to code enforcement, to kind of community engagement, to kind of...
Let's put the brakes on this until,
Give us some time to look
and
at it.
Councilman Reed just made a great suggestion. We've had some great success over the past couple of weeks with joint work sessions, and this may be something even at a planning commission work session that we invite the council and and have a good discussion about this.
Well, and I would collaboratively like to have some of these property owners be a part of that as well. Don't put all the burden on us as far as making something that you're going to have to deal with, but it has to be better than what we have today. That would be my only recommendation as far as how we address this going forward.
Do we send out public notices on work sessions?
We don't,
Do
I
not.
mean, it's in the
It would,
newspaper.
we would have to though if the council was involved.
Right. Well, it's a public meeting.
Right, it'd be a public
Right.
meeting.
It's always a public meeting, but it's not
But
a
we could
public-
do it during a work session
Or
when
we could
there's
do it on
no,
a committee meeting night.
or we could do it on a committee night if the commission wanted to join the council on
I
committee
would
night.
think that Misha and I need a little bit of time to kind of identify the problems in a parameter of the area that,
Right.
that we need to talk
Well,
about.
we're gonna put the brakes on some of these, on these in this area that we're dealing with now. Misha, I hope I'm not putting
So would 90 days be enough for this?
If you tell us we have 90 days, we'll make 90 days work. That's how that works. Now,
Let's-
if you're saying it's got to be done in 2 weeks, it's probably not going to
No,
happen.
let's just.
But
let's
Whatever
make
you
it 90
decide will
days.
hit right the time the grass is growing good too, so that'll be great. No, I think that would be perfect if we could do that.
Gives us time to look at it as an entire area and come back with
Is
some.
that something y'all would be willing
And we
to work with us
We
on?
probably do need to get some of the property owners involved to come in and sit down and talk about what are the issues there, and so maybe we can put together a public meeting to just invite people to come talk about it too.
Yeah, I think that would be great. I've been in contact with a lot of it caused a bit of an uproar that day, so we've all kind of been talking about it. So I
Yeah,
will,
and that's my concern, is that it's being addressed, now it's an uproar, and it's
Yep.
us against the,
I
you know,
know.
and that's not what we want it to
I
be
know,
on here.
yeah.
I mean, these are important parts of our city,
right,
but we've got to do things as far as branding ourselves appropriately.
right.
And so, again, when you speak with other property owners, I would encourage them that we are here to collectively have a dialogue of how do we improve it,
Okay,
okay?
yes.
I would say that too, and maybe we can make a focus of when we look at this, low cost, high impact type stuff, like maybe the fencing as opposed, you could prioritize some things like fencing as opposed to maybe we don't touch the paving thing right now, but the fencing is
But
what's
address the fencing.
important. Because that is a really cool area. I mean, there's not very many places in the city where you can find only a warehouse, a commercial warehouse that's that
Right.
small.
Yes.
It's perfect for a lot of people, so, but,
A
yes.
lot of small
We
businesses.
also, like you
Yeah,
said,
what's the priorities?
is screening more important?
Do we need
than-
sidewalks? Probably not in that area, but do we want to make sure stuff's screened? Yeah, that may be something that we really want. Yeah, everybody wants the same thing, right?
Right.
We all want it to, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
But there's so much rubbish in other places, just, it's.
I mean, those things do need to be addressed.
You want your business to look good, and you want the
Right.
businesses around you to look good.
And
that's basically
even
what
when
we're
I
looking for.
spoke to other managers, when Nelson, for example, he said, we need to clean up. I mean, he knows, everybody knows, we're just busy, but yeah, something does need to be done. I don't have a problem with that at all, and I
We want to
appreciate the way you're
increase
handling
the
it.
pride of the area,
Absolutely.
so that everybody knows they have a good, solid business, and it needs to
Yep.
look like a good.
I mean, it's 37 years old out there, so there's a lot of work to be done for older buildings.
All right, so we'll table this for 90 days. We'll definitely be in contact with you guys,
Okay.
especially because yours is one that we initially addressed. Misha will need to probably just, any of those that are outstanding, make sure we get them notification as well. I would hope that we at least have 7 that would be in attendance, if not more than that, so, okay?
Great, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, B 17-14, Navona LLC, lots 5 through 8, 18 through 19, 23, 26, 27, 34, 64 through 66, variance reduction of front setback, variance per lots, and variance for minimum lot widths for said lots, presented by ESI.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jason Apple with Engineering Services.
You always bring these fun ones here.
I know. We had a small discussion about this last time. Went back, what we tried to do for these 13 lots, provided staff actual plot plans on each lot with, I believe we added 2 additional houses along with the 4 that we were kind of going in this subdivision in placing. And so we've tried to make them fit the best we can. And so I provided a list of the requested setbacks and lot widths. Overall, they're average about 60-foot wide from the 70-foot wide lot requirement in SF2. We're still meeting the 8-foot setbacks on both sides of that 60 with these houses. And I'll try to answer any other questions.
Staff comments?
This is a really unique situation, but those lots were created by the developer who put it in, and I understand there were some issues. Did you look at the possibilities of reconfiguring the lots themselves so that you didn't have that issue with the setback line? Because we still have the same number of lots.
Correct.
We didn't combine any two of them together. We're still trying to put the same number of houses on lots.
Right. I think obviously, we're trying to keep the same number of lots and not combining those lots. And I feel that we can build on these lots. They just may not be the same character of the other homes in the subdivision. And so we're trying to keep them consistent as possible, and that's
And
what I
it's
got.
using, you have what, 2 different or 3 different floor plans?
6.
6, okay. And so you didn't modify any of the floor plans to fit the unique lots?
Well-
It's got to be one of the existing 6 that you have?
Well, we added 2 they were using 4 previously. We added
So you added
2.
2 more.
And then there's actually a couple lots on the north side that we didn't ask for variances on, that we modified some floor plans to make them fit. I think the 4 lots on the north side that we did not ask for variances for.
Any questions or comments from the audience? Okay, let's do the commission.
I think from my standpoint, I think there was 2 lots that were all on their own that couldn't be combined, right? But all the others
Right.
could be reconfigured and not require.
Yeah, here's the concern that I have on here is that, we've heard previous in this meeting, think in the future as far as people want to put storage buildings or whatever on this. I'm already anticipating as far as you're going to have side setback variances and things like that. And, it is within the control of the developer to be able to do some combination of these lots to make them more conducive. But I don't see much difference as far as the last time we met to now, other than you had 4 of them that you guys did reconfiguration changes based on what you can manage within those. But those that are actually still not manageable, you're asking for a bunch of variances, when reality is we could combine some of these together.
Sure.
Or you could change the type of structure you put in
Yeah.
to fit.
Yes.
the-
It's not out of the question to
Yeah.
make a house that will fit on these lots.
And
And that's a possibility. We can do that. We just thought, we're trying to be consistent, trying to keep the same look, and, you're gonna have a couple odd shaped houses in there. That is our next option if we don't get the variances. So.
Looks like we're just trying to cram too much on one small property when you could have a better aesthetic look if you did combine. I'm looking at this other subdivision right next to it on the 3028, 3034, 3045. They almost had the same situation that you have.
Yeah, FYI, that subdivision right up above it, just north of it was all the Roush Coleman developments, so they were impacted as far as different types of configurations of houses anyway. So, I understand that as far as different configurations, but all the subdivisions have experienced that on there.
And at the end of the day, it's financial. So I understand, we're trying to keep it consistent and all that, and I appreciate that, but
I'm just
make more
approaching
money
it-
if we have more houses, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it from the future, that if it's already a strange configuration, you're going to have somebody that's going to put something out there that they're going to have to ask for another variance on that. And why allow that burden to come before us if we can kind of manage that now?
Sure. No, I understand. This is one developer.
No, I understand.
Asking for all of these variances. Typically this.
But I brought that up before in the last meeting, And was it addressed as far as with the developer, as far as with that in mind?
I mean, they're not going to reduce the number of lots that they have available.
Okay.
So then the alternative is they have to build it where the setback is now, and that makes
I mean, it's, you know,
Two-story house or
two or three-story
something to-
house. I
right,
mean,
a
you
different
know,
style of house to fit on
Yes.
the lot with the way it's configured. I mean, it can be done.
yes.
Well, there won't be, there'll be quite a few because it's a lot of lots. So it won't be just one odd house. It'll
Well,
become
right.
part of what that neighborhood has.
Okay, this be a call for the vote.
All for the vote.
Are you going to do both together or separate?
I think I need to go separate.
Okay?
Okay.
Call for the vote on A,
On the front setbacks.
front setback by Ms. Haney.
Okay. Covert,
No.
Haney,
No?
Parker, Parsley,
No.
Donato,
No.
Powell,
No.
Tyler,
No.
Compton.
Variance for reduction of front setback does not pass, 8-0.
Okay, so your recourse is through court. You have to file it within 30 days. But you don't have any lots, there's no houses going on any of those now? No. Okay. What does that do if the front setback variances are not granted to the minimum lot widths? Because the minimum lot width is set as where those front
Right.
setbacks are.
I mean, if you vote yes for the front setback, then it's going to change then you're basically saying yes to the variance.
Right, but since there is no reduction of the front setback, as what's shown on the plat, how are you going to change the minimum lot widths? I mean, I guess you can move them further back. You can't move them any closer and be able to
Right,
get
yeah.
those. So
It'll
I
be
guess
based on the plat setback dimensions, yes.
okay. There's not going to be very many that you can make changes to. If you can't reduce the setback that's set on the plat.
No, I mean, the setback's the biggest issue.
I
We added
guess,
we added the lot width in because of the reduction of setback, because the setbacks were created
so that you could get the
to get
minimum
the
width.
70-foot set, yes.
Right. So if you can't adjust the front setback, you can't adjust the lot widths. So it really kind of takes care of the other one.
Yes.
Okay? Call for the votes on the,
All for the vote.
call for the vote by Ms. Haney.
Haney,
No?
Parker,
No.
Parsley,
No.
Donato,
No.
Powell,
No.
Tyler,
No.
Compton, Covert.
Variance for minimum lot widths does not pass, 8-0.
Okay, there again, it's that appeal to court.
Thank you.
Thank you. B 17-15, Pedro Miranda Sanchez, 2195 Eleanor Street, variance for reduction of side setback from 12 feet to 11 feet, presented by Bates and Associates. Sorry, I kept you here the whole time.
Good evening. Again, this is kind of goes hand in hand with the replat that we're doing on those two lots. The house on the south lot is over the setback line by a few inches, and so it was built some time ago, just barely over the line. So to kind of clean it all up, we're just asking for a 1-foot reduction in the setback to allow that wall to be within the allowable portion of the lot.
These are all zero lot lines, is what? There's a zero lot line on one side, and then
Yes,
there's a
that-
setback on the other side, so that you could maintain the side of your structure that's on the zero lot line.
That's correct. That's
We
how
just-
this subdivision was platted, yes.
And we just have a house that was built over that zero lot line that created a problem.
Yes, so we're just trying to clean these two lots
Have a
up.
clean title when this one is.
That's kind of the main
the
reason
whole
that this
idea.
came up.
Yeah, we
yes.
need a clean title when this thing is sold.
Yes.
Any questions or comments from the audience? To the commission?
All for the vote?
Call for vote by Mrs. Haney.
Parker,
Yes.
Parsley,
Yes.
Donato, Powell,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Compton,
Yes.
Covert,
Yes.
Haney.
Yes.
Variance passes 8-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's it.
Not planning director report.
Okay.
We have that individual.
Take one of those.
Let me go back here real quick. The 17-08 Arturo Martinez, 1837 Reed Avenue, variance reduction of lot width from 70 feet to 22.31, presented by Arturo Martinez. Okay, so that one has, that was a tabled item and was not present, so they will, if they come back, this has to be resubmitted again.
Now, the zoning can be tabled to the next meeting because it's a new zoning request.
Okay.
So it'll be tabled to the next
So
meeting.
R 17-11 will be tabled, but R 17-08 has to be resubmitted.
Right.
All right, planning director report.
If you'll take these and pass these down. One of the issues we had a discussion at the council committee meeting the other day was what we've talked about in the past of addressing the issue with eating places as a use unit 17 that can't have drive-ins or provide dancing or entertainment. And what we've done is create some more definitions for a use unit 17 as an eating place and create a use unit 17A that is allowed as a permitted use in the same zoning classifications, but creating a use unit 17B, which allows for coffee houses to have drive-up windows and restaurants to have drive-ins and that kind of stuff, and then set some standards for those that they would have to be a conditional use in the C2 zone. So that's basically what the change is. It's coming from the council committee recommending that the planning commission hold a public hearing on these amendments to the ordinance at the next city council, at the next planning commission meeting in April 4th. Yeah, I don't, you guys got to remember, sometimes I don't know what day it is because my timing has been all messed up. We're talking about the April meeting to make these changes. So you need to take these and look at them and come back to me if you've got any comments. We've talked about these before. This is pretty much just creating two different categories of eating places and some more definitions so we can identify what they are. The biggest change, if you have a drive-in at a restaurant and it's a conditional use in a C2, you can't have a call box because that's where you get into the issues of too close to a residential area. You can't have a call box. You got to be able to do it all at the window, those kind of things. And so that's all outlined in here. So we have those two things.
Require a motion to get this added on there, or just?
If you guys will just direct me to put it on as a public hearing, council's already kind of sent it to you guys wanting that done, so we'll set the public hearing for the April meeting, unless somebody has an objection. Okay.
Okay, yeah, we'll recommend this be added to the April planning commission meeting.
Okay. Next question is about a work session in March. It is scheduled for the week of spring break.
Yeah, my suggestion is that we hold off on the work session this month, but definitely get back together in April.
Yeah, and we have got to have our first review of the master street plan because we haven't done that this year, and that needs to be the first topic of discussion at the next work session is the master street plan.
I agree.
There's a couple of places that we really need to address. There's some things going on in the area that we need to make sure that our master street plan addresses.
Do we have any recommendations as far as for the downtown area, as far as any changes as far as one-way streets or anything like that?
The master plan doesn't have any. We haven't addressed any of that kind of stuff.
Would that be something that's, we could get put in front of us so that we can include that into?
Well, we can. It creates a real stir when you start talking about making one-way streets in downtown. I don't know that we want to.
Well, it's been discussed as far as
Yeah, it has
before,
been discussed
so.
a couple of times, yeah. We can do that. But there are some bigger areas outside the areas around the 412 bypass. We need to address some of those, like an extension of Dixieland Road all the way down to Wagon Wheel. We need to get that on the master street plan with all the improvements that are going on at J.B. Hunt to handle that traffic and to make sure it gets into the design of the interchange at 71.
Yeah, how much would that be a partnership, because you're talking about the Apple Blossom area as well. How much would that be a partnership with Lowell?
There will have to be some partnerships and some partnerships with maybe even Bethel Heights, unless property's taken out of Bethel Heights and come into Springdale. But there's some areas we need to really look at there. The 500 new employees that are going into the new tower at J.B. Hunt creates a traffic issue to dump all that traffic on Apple Blossom. It's not designed to handle it, so we need to look at how that area needs to be handled in getting traffic. Wagon Wheel is designed to get you both directions, and so we really need to look at it. So that's one of the major ones that we need to talk about.
Can we hit that in an hour on that? Normally our work session's an hour, right?
We can hit the highlights of most of those in an hour. Now, I am not ready. Yeah, I'm not ready to talk about one-way streets downtown. If y'all want to do that, I need a little bit more time to go.
Yeah,
back and
I'm
look
just, I
at that.
mean, well, we have the entire year as far as to address some of these things, so.
I think the area around, in that area up north is crucial. If the highway department's gonna move forward with extending, and we're pushing the highway department to extend 412 from the 49 corridor. We'd like to see it go all the way to 265, but at least to 71. We need to get the interchange design. We need to make sure our north-south collector streets line up where they're supposed to, so we can help move traffic around in that area.
And then the ballpark on the northwest side of town, when is that scheduled to start on that? I mean, we probably don't have funds for that at this point in
Which
time.
one are you talking about?
Yeah, near Shaw Elementary and all of that.
Well, we don't have that on any of the capital improvement programs, and if the city's looking at an additional bond program, we need to start looking at something that may need to be included in this one or the next one.
Yeah, that would be the only other area. I mean, just anticipating that you're going to have that increased traffic. The roads out there can't handle that either. So that would be another partnership as well, probably with Elm Springs.
Now, we do have study contracts for the extension of Don Tyson Parkway to 112. We have a TAP grant to do that, and then we have a study grant to look at extending 56th Street south to Johnson Mills Boulevard or Great House
Yeah.
Springs Road, whatever we call them. Those two are already under the way, so we have those. And we need to identify if we're going to apply for TAP funds for study money in the future. We need to have those on our master street plan so that we can move those forward. If they're not on the master street plan, you're not going to get TAP funding.
And the north side of 56 is already on the master street plan going up to Elm Springs Road. Okay.
It's already there,
Yeah.
so yeah, we
Okay.
have that one in place already.
All right, so if you guys don't oppose, we'll not have the March work session, and we'll move that as far as to April. Okay, anything else?
I just, y'all've got some additions to your code books. Now, the 3 new members don't have code books. Do y'all use your code books, or can you not just look it up on?
Look it up on here.
Someone can have mine.
A lot easier.
Okay, I mean, I don't mind putting the code, or getting the code books for you all, the new people, but they're expensive, number one. And if you're not gonna, I mean, usually when a commissioner goes off and they bring the code book back, these are all just crammed in there. There's no rhyme or reason to them. Now, y'all may be a little more dedicated to putting the papers where they need to go, so just let me know.
It'd be nice if we had a quick access on here, on our desktop, that we could hit those ordinances or the codes and all that stuff. It would be nice if we had that on our iPad.
Well, if you go to the city's website and you go under government and city ordinances, when you click on that, you will get the city's entire code book.
Our code of ordinances.
Yeah, I mean, I keep my book up to date. I like paper.
I'm not surprised at you, BB. I mean, if you had told me you didn't, I would have fallen over dead, but
Anything
If
else?
you're not going to do it, there's no sense paying to have those code books updated. But if you're comfortable with using what's online, just let us know. We won't keep sending those to you. If you bring those books back, we'll have those to use for somebody else if somebody else wants them.
Okay. We'll just, each of you just respond back to,
yeah, just let me.
and let her
just
know as far as
shoot
what
me
you want done. on
email.
that, so.
I know the new guys don't know what we're talking about, but honestly, if you've never had one, then you
Worry
won't
about it.
know what you're
Yeah, you won't miss
missing.
a word on it,
Straight
so.
to
All
the
right.
website.
Thank you, guys. Meeting adjourned.
Sign that for me, please, sir.
Debbie, you know I'll be late in the morning. I have a doctor's appointment.